Chapter 58. Prajau Tanjai. That day, the Buddha decided to travel north to avoid crossing paths with her, who was traveling from the south, and the first city he had to go to was one of the Pankanigara cities, in the Pankla region. This region was vast, with sub-districts or vassal cities, including Changmuan, Changyuan, Changkam Noea or Chiang Rai, and Changkam Tai, with the capital city being Changsayan. The first city in the group that the Buddha reached was Changkam Tai, a city located on the banks of a small river, which is the source of the Ukiravati River that flows to Savatthi. Later, about 1800 years after the Buddha's passing, a city ruler named Phaya was appointed by the capital city of Changsayan to govern this city. He developed the city into a prosperous trading center, accumulating a lot of wealth, until he established himself as independent and declared independence. From being a colony of Pank, he renamed this city Phayayawadi. Over time, the city residents tended to shorten the name to Phayayur, until it became Phayao today. Lord Foch explained. O Phayao province, can you tell me the location of this ancient city, in case I have the opportunity to explore it? I asked. Today, this city is located in the middle of a reservoir called Kwan Phayao. Originally, this city was a lowland area with fertile soil due to sediment from the river mouth, accumulated since ancient times. The city had a network of small canals for transportation and a large pond for cultivation and consumption. The city was once abandoned because the people were conscripted to fight. In the Ayutthaya kingdom, and less than 100 years ago, the government built a dam to store water for use in the dry season, which flooded the entire city, turning it into the large lake you see today. Lord Foch explained. Oh, that's a pity, I said. At that time, the Buddha traveled with dozens of close disciples. If I mentioned their names, I think you would be very familiar with all of them, because they are all those who are known to have attained the highest truth and are enlightened ones in the history of Buddhism. But there is one person you may not know, and his story is not recorded in history. Or if it is not accurate, Lord Foch said, as if raising a point. Who is he? I asked immediately. Phaya Asoka of Kosinarayana, Lord Foch replied. Do you mean Emperor Ashoka? I asked. Different person. That Emperor Ashoka was prominent more than 2 years after the Buddha's passing. This Phaya Asoka lived in the same era as the Buddha, he replied. And who is this Phaya? I asked. The words Phaya or Prajau mean king. Everyone called him Phaya Asoka of Kosinarayana. It was during the time he traveled to meet the Buddha in Savatthi and attained enlightenment. He volunteered to help the Buddha's work, which coincided with the Buddha's intention to travel, to spread his teachings in various territories. So, he asked to accompany the Buddha with a number of his attendants. Therefore, everywhere the Buddha went, he would pray and look for suitable locations for his religion to establish itself in the future. When he found a suitable place, such as a foothill near a community, a cave, or a suitable area to become a temple or a city in the future, he would pluck some of his hair, place it in a small container, and give it to Phaya Asoka to bury it underground at that location, he explained. Why did the Buddha do that? I asked. Firstly, it was to make a prayer that in the future his religion would flourish in this place. Secondly, it was to create a symbol for his disciples, who would come to spread the religion in the future. and also to be a place to enshrine the Buddha's relics later. So, it's easy to observe that wherever there is a Chedi pagoda that enshrines the Buddha's relics or hair relics, it means that the Buddha had been to that place and performed a prayer ceremony to establish it. And thirdly, it was to leave a trail for Akita's group to know that they were following the right path. It would be confirmation or a treasure map for them to follow correctly, he replied. Oh, and how would they know where the Buddha had buried the hair relics? I asked. When the Buddha decided where to bury his hair relics, Phaya Asoka would order the attendants, who followed him to dig a hole to bury the container and find the most durable material in the vicinity. Where there was sandstone, they used sandstone. Where there was granite, they used granite. Where there was laterite, they used laterite to carve into shape. They would roughly shape the stones into short cylindrical pieces, depending on the size of the stone, and then stack them to form a stone pillar. Then they would place it above the location where the container was buried, or in some places where there was laterite or brick. Phaya Asoka would order them to stack it into a small chedi instead. And because the Buddha would stay in each place for no more than 2 or 3 days, all the work had to be completed in time. So, everywhere the Buddha stayed, you would see Phaya Asoka directing his followers to transport stones, shape them as desired, and stack them into stone pillars or chedi. He would direct himself, or sometimes even do it himself, because he wanted it completed quickly. The image that the villagers saw was Phaya Asoka pointing and ordering the construction of those pillars to be finished within 1 or 2 days. So, the villagers nicknamed him Pra Jiao Tanjai, the Instant Lord, because everything had to be completed instantly. Oh, so the Pra Jiao Tan Jai statues that I often see in temples are statues of this Phaya Asoka? I asked. Yes, the legend of Pra Jiao Tanjai and the construction of relic. Chedi and Buddhism often go hand in hand. Later, after the Buddha's passing, this Phaya Asoka traveled to build chedi to enshrine the Buddha's relics in many places where the Buddha had already made symbols. He replied, "That's how it is. I've always been curious about who Pra Jiao Tan Jai is and why people like to ask for blessings from him, especially those who want immediate fortune, until it became a trend that temples that want a lot of donations must build a Pra Jiao Tanjai statue for people to worship. It turns out it's Phaya Asoka. The story is getting interesting," I commented. Yes, and this event is the beginning of the legend of Prajalaya Block, the Lord who traveled the world, recorded in ancient scriptures that have been copied and passed down. And you are also a part of this legend, Lord Foch elaborated. "Oh, that's exciting and makes me feel proud," I said.